500 posts in 14 months and one client. That was reality for me not too long ago. And I was doing everything the experts said to do, posting every day, showing up consistently, grinding on content, and I had almost nothing to show for it. Then one shift changed everything. One shift produced 75,000 and 15 clients in 10 days. And today we're going to break down exactly what that shift was. We're going to walk you through the 10 areas of your life that determine whether your business actually works or whether it slowly grinds you into the ground. And we're going to show you why the 5 areas most people focus on are actually the wrong 5. So by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which areas to focus on. You're going to have a specific exercise you can do today, and you're going to see this pattern playing out in real people's lives, not just ours.
Yeah. So if you're someone who has real expertise, maybe 10, 15, 20 years of professional experience, and you're trying to turn that into something that actually replaces your income, if you bought courses, joined masterminds, tried to just create more content and it's not converting, if your spouse is starting to wonder whether this whole thing is going to work or not, and your corporate friends think that you're having some kind of crisis or you're crazy, and if you're posting into the void, building offers no one's buying, and you know you have value, but you can't figure out how to package it, then that's what we're going to be sharing with you specifically today. So, because I need you to understand this, here's the thing, like, if you could get to the point where $20,000 a month in profit was your absolute worst month while you're working 20 hours a week or less, if you could build something that doesn't require you to become an influencer or post 3 new live pieces of content every single day, if you could actually be present with your family, have energy at the end of the day, and wake up knowing exactly what to focus on, not because the guru told you, but because it's aligned with who you actually are, that's what we're going to be unpacking today.
I'm Ryan. I spent 20 years in a corporate career at Verizon, working my way up to leading digital product strategy together between Verizon and companies like Apple, Amazon, Google, and Samsung. When I wasn't fulfilled, I did what most people start to do. I tried to find a vehicle to get out. MLMs, got my real estate license. When I left to build my own thing, I went into affiliate marketing, master resale rights. I posted over 500 pieces of content in 14 months and generated exactly one client from all that effort. Like I said before, then one shift, one change in how I was deploying what I already knew, and one strategic partnership produced 15 clients and over $75,000 in 10 days. I was the same person. I had the same skills. I just took a different approach. I'm also a husband and father of 2, building this on part-time hours because the whole point is a business that fits your life.
Yeah. And I'm LD. I did 12 years in the Air Force, replaced my military income in year 1 of my entrepreneurial journey, walked away in year 2. And over the next decade, I made 6 figures in direct sales, digital marketing, high ticket closing, coaching, growth consulting, client success, even independent insurance adjusting, which that's a story in itself. So every vehicle I touched, I was able to extract 6 figures from, but every single one of those was me grinding the square peg into the round hole. And I watched close friends try the same approach and just not really make it. And that's what really put me on a mission overall. So I became obsessed with what I now call the alignment first approach. And I'm the one who coached Ryan through the shift that produced those results. So you're looking at the person who went through it and the person who guided him through it. And we're building the system now so that you can do it too.
Yeah, LD said something to me that completely changed how I saw my own business. He said the 5 areas you're grinding on every day are the lagging results. They don't move the needle. The 5 areas you're ignoring are the leading inputs that move everything. So, LD, if you wouldn't mind, break that down for us.
Yeah. So here's how we have it mapped out. There's 10 areas of your life that determine whether your business actually works for you or slowly just grind you to a halt until you either go back to your 9 to 5, you end up on some random, place in Bali or something like that. There's 2 groups. The first 5 is what everyone focuses on. It's identity and self-concept. Like, who am I becoming? Financial architecture. Will this work financially? Time sovereignty. I don't have enough hours. Career transition. Can I actually leave? And family dynamics. Am I sacrificing my family for all of this? These are the outcomes, the lagging results. They move because of something else. Now, the second five is what most people completely ignore. It's decision making and clarity, right? And this is more like 47 saved resources with zero action, energy, health, and sustainability, where they're burnt out from the wrong activities, community and belonging, building in total isolation, or they follow some super influencer that has a community of people that they just want to monetize the community in a way that you never really get any results, or if you do, they're happy for you, but they just need you to stick around more than anything. Number nine is strategy and skills, where it's you are really overqualified, but you're under deployed when it comes to the skill set that you have overall. And lastly is purpose and legacy. And a lot of times I've run into people who just had no North Star. Like every setback ends up being a dead end because they had no North Star. So these are the leading inputs. Like you do the work here, and one through five move on their own. So here's what most people miss. And this is what changed everything for Ryan as well as myself. Like, you don't fix your income by staring at your bank account. You don't fix your time by buying a productivity app. You don't fix your identity crisis by reading another mindset book. You fix all of those by dialing in what's feeding them: your decision making, your energy, your peer environment, how you're deploying your skills, and your sense of purpose overall. All right. And when we made that shift, when Ryan stopped grinding on content and started making one clear decision about who already had his ideal clients, everything changed. Not in months, in days, right? Ryan, so when you were still at Verizon, man, building on the side, like what were you really focused on? Like, were you thinking about decision making frameworks and energy management, or were you laser locked on areas one through five, like making money, building, an entrepreneurial identity, trying to find time? Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. It was areas 1 through 5. That's all I could see. So I was thinking about income. Will this actually replace my salary? It was identity. Am I asking myself, am I even cut out for this? It was my time. I'm working a full-time job, and where would I even find the hours to do something like this? And that was the entire mental loop, like every single day going through that over and over and over and over again. I was completely obsessed over results that hadn't happened yet. Well, I was ignoring the inputs that would have actually created them. I wasn't thinking about who to surround myself with. I was asking. I wasn't asking if the model even fit my life. I was just staring at a bank account that wasn't moving, and I was wondering what was wrong with me. So I could have told you my follower count to the digit. I could not have told you a single clear decision I'd made about who I was actually serving.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. And it literally gives like the full visual of focusing on the wrong fives. So, what I want to do is let's go through each of these five areas one by one. And for each one, we're going to break down the belief that's keeping most people stuck, show you what's actually costing you, give you the reframe, and then look at a real person on Reddit dealing with this right now. And we're going to help them live. Right. So, most experts, and this is going to be related to decision making and clarity, guys. So, most experts believe the fastest way to make better decisions is to get more information, more courses, more research until the right answer becomes obvious, right? And like I said earlier, that's literally how you end up with 47 saved resources, zero revenue. It's super important to understand that every new program adds options, not clarity. And you're making emotional decisions dressed up as due diligence. And I can see how this would seem like a good idea, especially because of how these things are marketed. I think that is one of the most important aspects. It's like, it's not you just out here making poor decisions. It's more about you going out into the market and looking for what is going to be able to help you. But you run into people who are really, really, really good at marketing. And that turns into you buying a course for 997, or jumping on a sales call and having some 21-year-old kid look you dead in the eyes and say it's going to be $10,000, right? And because you want to get there, it ends up being, you know, a decision that you make. And there's never failures or losses is more like wins or lessons, right? So here's the reality though. You don't need more information. You need a framework that tells you what to measure and what to ignore. And what that actually gets you is you wake up knowing exactly what to work on. Your decisions compound instead of contradicting each other. And ultimately, you have five decisions. One is who you serve, where you're going, what vehicle fits, what model works for your life. And that is so key because everything works for someone, but what is going to work specifically for you? And when you and then ultimately what fuels it. So when you make those five decisions, everything else falls away. So Brian, you made high stakes decisions for Apple, Amazon, and Samsung for 20 years at Verizon and stuff. So when you started making decisions for your own business, was it fundamentally different about how you, or a better way is, what was fundamentally different about how you were deciding overall?
Yeah, so they didn't let me near those companies in the beginning of my career, but it was definitely something I worked up to. But at Verizon, I had guardrails everywhere, all around me. I had clear metrics, clear KPIs that we were working towards. I had defined stakeholders. I had a team, hundreds of people that I worked with all over the world. I had a budget, a timeline. Decisions were constrained by this structure, and honestly that made them easier. As much as the environment itself and the corporate politics just like ate away at me, I thrive on structure. I think that's something you've learned about me since we've worked together. I always knew what good looked like because someone had already defined it for me. So the moment I started building something on my own, none of that was there. Nobody handed me a strategy document and said, "Here you go, go execute this." Nobody told me what success is going to look like this quarter. Every expert out there on the internet has a different answer. And I went from making high stakes decisions with total confidence to second guessing whether I should post a reel or write a blog. And it was paralyzing. And so here's what I eventually realized: the problem wasn't that I lost my ability to decide. The problem was that I had never had to decide what game I was going to play that day. I had only ever had to figure out how to play to win a game that somebody else already defined for me. And that is a completely different skill.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes 100% sense, man. So it's that time. This is where things get real because we can sit here and talk about our journeys all day, especially yours with 75K in 10 days coming from corporate X, Y, and Z. But let's look at someone in the middle of this right now and see if we can actually help them. So Brian, go ahead and take it away with the first Reddit story, man.
This one's titled Rant. I've lost the plot of being an entrepreneur. So this person is in their mid 30s, a former CMO level marketing expert. They've consulted for startups, they've built real value for other businesses. They are stuck. They considered venture capital, info products, consulting, going back to the dreaded full-time job. They can't commit to any of them. This is his line from the actual post. I've researched information products extensively, read all the books, know all the formats, and still paralyzed.
Yeah. So, when I look at where this person is currently, it's like they're exhausted from the consulting cycle, slightly financially strained. They have too many options. Read every book, know every formula, exceptional at product marketing and storytelling. So overall, these skills aren't necessarily the issue here. I think when it comes to helping this person, one of the first things I would want to know is, who does he actually want to serve? And if he gave me the answer that's like, hey, I want to serve whoever's going to give me some money, right? Like whoever's going to pay the most, like that's not necessarily true or accurate. And it's leaning away from the North Star more than anything. So I think that that would be one of the first things that I would want to know is like, who is he, like who does he get energy from serving? And then I would look at taking all of that experience building an offer around all of that experience, specifically for serving the people that he would actually want to work with. Because I think that one of the parts that makes corporate for a lot of people soul crushing is it's not that they have to do work that they don't want to do, it's they have to deal with people that they genuinely don't want to deal with on a constant basis, right? So um what about you, Ryan? Like, what jumps out to you when it comes to this guy's situation?
The thing that stood out the most to me was the one line, read all the books, know all the formulas. And that for me, it really hits because I lived that exact thing. I had all the courses, I had communities, YouTube University, AI tools. I had more information than I'd ever had at any point in my entire corporate career. And I was more stuck than I'd ever been. And I think the reason it happens is that in corporate, information actually led to action because there was a framework to put it in. As an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, information without a framework just becomes another project. And every new thing I learned opened three new doors, and I walked through none of them. So what I wish someone had told this guy, and honestly, that I wish somebody had told me, is that the answer isn't going to be in the next book. It was making one clear decision and committing to it long enough to actually see data come back, because the data is the most critical thing.
Bingo. Yep, it is absolutely it. And I remember our conversation about that, months and months and months ago, right? It's like, I don't care. We just need the data. If we can get that, we can optimize. And over time, as long as we stick it out, we're going to be able to win. And it feels really good to kind of have that memory live in this moment right here, man. So, when it comes to an action plan for this person, like, here's what we really really tell this guy, and here's what you can even do if you feel like you're in a similar situation right now. We call it the clarity audit. So it's three steps, super simple, right? Step one is going to be writing down every business or vehicle that you've already tried, and next to it, write the specific thing that made you stop. Like, what was the actual friction? For people who got into network marketing, maybe they weren't passionate about the product, or they couldn't get behind it. Maybe they were passionate about the product, but they were not passionate about, kind of bugging friends and family and becoming basically that guy or girl. And yeah, so write down what those actual friction points were. Step two, circle anything that you actually enjoyed doing, even if the business didn't work. So maybe for like Ryan, it was real estate. He loved being in the real estate market, but he didn't like the fact that he had to go show houses all the time, X, Y, and Z. So it's like, real estate isn't bad. It was just one of the mechanisms associated with it. So again, even if the business didn't work, the skill isn't the problem. The model just might have been the problem overall. And number three is look at what you circled and ask yourself this: would you do this again if the model didn't require that thing that made you quit? That's the alignment signal right there. And I think that the more you can look at what you've done in the past, what made you not want to do it anymore, but what did you enjoy doing while you were doing that, and you build a list of that, that gives you strong alignment signals to be able to have a better guide into what would actually be exciting as a business model, as the next endeavor for you, or how to optimize what you already have going on now. Everything, this quick little audit is just a simplified version. Inside of Liftoff Lab, we go way deeper, but at least this gets the ball rolling overall. And here's a quote that kind of underlines all of this, and it's from um, Warren Buffett. He says, really successful people say no to almost everything. Clarity isn't knowing more, it's eliminating more. And there's also a quick analogy is that if your doctor gave you 47 diets and said, figure it out, you probably fire that doctor for sure. So, moving into number two, the life area number two, which is energy, health, and sustainability. Most people think that they just need to push through exhaustion, uh, sacrificing their health, for a temporary time frame. And then once everything is running, then you'll focus on yourself. I'm telling you right now, I fell into that trap. And one thing is for certain is that if you don't make your health overall a priority, then it'll get to the point where the only priority you have is your health. And that is not a place that you want to be at all. So you're not burnt out from working too hard. You're burnt out because 80% of your energy goes to activities producing zero results. Like for Ryan, it was 500 posts and that equaled one client. No one wants those numbers at all. That's a broken model draining you dry, especially if you don't enjoy creating content. I think I'm going to say that again. 500 posts for one client. And I don't even think that that was like even the highest paying client, by the way. But like 500 posts for one client. That's a broken model draining you dry, especially when you don't even just naturally enjoy content creation. So here's how you need to look at it. Burnout is a model problem, not a willpower problem. When your business is aligned, the work gives you the energy instead of taking it. Energy at the end of the day is what you end up getting. You end up sleeping better. You actually go to the gym. Like health becomes a business asset, not a casualty. And and Ryan, I know you would agree. It's especially with us doing our push-up, squat, and jumping jack challenge over the last 30 days, which I am going to the gym today, buddy. I'm just telling you that right now. Hook or crook, I'm going to the gym. But we decided to, bolt on that when we made the decision to kind of get all of Liftoff Live, which is where we are now, and Liftoff Live, the premium community that we're going to be opening up enrollment pretty soon. We decided to bolt that on, and that was one of the best decisions that we could have made because it turned into us being able to handle the stress and anxiety associated with just getting something off of the ground. And I think that that brings a very good point. You're going to hear us talk about, 20K in under 20 hours a week. And there are multiple phases where the energy output that's required of you, it's going to be different. So we're not saying that things won't get stressful or there won't be points of anxiety. What we are saying is that the ultimate goal is getting to the point where it is 20K is the absolute worst month. 20 hours a week is the absolute most that you work in a sustained long-term fashion. Just like a plane, like when you need to get an airplane off the ground, you got to go full throttle for a short period of time in order to get it off the ground. And then after that, you're able to, put it in autopilot basically. So, um, again, the overall thing here is understanding that you need to stop recovering, or I'll put it to you like this: you need to stop needing to recover from your own business. Like the model was designed around your life from the start. I'm going to say that again. You stop needing to recover from your own business. I've been a victim of this more than I am excited to admit, but for the sake of helping you guys, like this was every six-figure run I had. Like I every single time needed a monthly, if not bi-weekly break from my own business because I was running myself into the ground. So by by following what we're talking about right now, you get to the point where you stop needing to recover from your own business because the model was designed around your life from the start. So, Ryan, when the model changed, like when you stopped doing 500 posts and started doing one strategic partnership, um, did your energy change? Like, was it physically or like in what ways did you feel different overall?
Yeah, it absolutely changed during the content grind, and I mean this literally. I would dread opening my laptop. I would sit down, create another piece of content that I already knew. Even if people saw it, I had a strong feeling nothing was going to come from it in terms of revenue results in my business, and I could feel the heaviness like literally on my shoulders. I was a dad and a husband who was physically in the house, but mentally somewhere else, running on fumes every single day. When the approach shifted to relationship building and strategic partnerships, something changed almost immediately. I wasn't dreading the work anymore because the work was like fully aligned. It was something I was doing before I even realized it. You positioned this strategy to me, and it went right over my head. The fact that I was already doing it in groups that I was in, conversations that I was having daily. It and like I said, it was in conversations. It was helping people. It was leveraging what I was naturally good at instead of forcing myself into a content creator mold that was never built for somebody like me. Like, I'm allergic to content creation. It's a miracle that I'm sitting here right now doing this with you. So it was the same number of hours and it was completely different energy because I stopped spending my energy on activities that didn't fit me and I started spending it on activities that actually used who I already was. Like, I was just able to lean into that, which made everything 1,000% easier.
Bingo. And to like make it even easier to understand, one of the key skills that he was able to leverage from his corporate experience is his high level ability to just be a good person and build relationships. Build Go into an area and just be the guy who's willing to help other people. Be the guy who's willing to put himself out there and be the example that the lab project that whoever the coach or mentor was at the time. Like, it's those little things. And, if that's not your lane, I don't want you to feel like, oh, well, is that what I have to do? It's like, well, no, we first need to figure out what exactly what is your lane overall related to that, and then we can figure out what's going to make the most sense overall. Because going into Facebook groups is one thing, but maybe you're better in a Discord server where, like, it's not about your overall identity, it's just about the value that you bring in that type of environment. All right, so, and I want you guys to know and understand that Reddit, like, people are going through this and they are talking about all of these types of things right now. And they're just posting it on Reddit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go look at another Reddit story that's dealing with this exact thing, and we're gonna see what we can do for them, man. So Brian, go ahead and pull that up, man.
All right. So the next story is titled, How Do I Get Through Burnout That's Making Me Unmotivated to Do the Job I Love? So this person is a health coach. Her entire business is helping others prioritize wellness. She launched it with her husband in 2019. The business has grown 5 to 10% annually. She is completely burnt out, not from coaching. She loves the coaching, but from every growth tactic she's tried: marketing agencies, social media, YouTube, events, blogs. None of those things move the needle. And her lead gen requires calling every lead several times a day.
Yeah. So super red flag. If you're coaching, you should not be calling every lead multiple times a day. Um, yeah, that I just want to get that out there. And it sounds like common sense, but you literally are like, you, here's a person who's actually doing that. You know what I mean? So she's a health coach. Her literal business is in helping people prioritize wellness. She can't apply it to her own business model. She's not burnt out from working too hard. She's burnt out from a model that requires her to manually call every lead. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's a design problem. All right. So with this situation, one of the first things is I would want to audit what she has, like, when it comes to hiring, whether it's hiring, a strategist or like a business development person, or it's hiring an agency. What is her history like with that? That's one of the first things I'd want to know. And the next thing is I'd want to know, when it comes to her clients, like, is she underpaid? And are there clients out there that she'd be able to, take on less clients, so that maybe she could start building out systems and putting systems in place that would help to do more of the lead generation and qualifying and things along those lines. So, Ryan, what stands out to you, man? Like, because I think a lot of people that are watching or that will watch this, they either are about to go into a version of this trap or they know this all too well.
Yeah, you said it, and I agree with it, and I'm going to repeat it because I think it's worth repeating. She is a health coach who can't apply her own wellness principles to her own business, and like you said, that's not a discipline problem. That tells you that the model employed here is broken. She's not burnt out from the coaching. She loves the coaching. She's burnt out from a lead gen model that is literally eating her alive. And the reason I think that was worth repeating is because I was in the exact same trap. I was burnout from building a business. I wasn't burnout from building a business. I was burnout from content creation that was not working. From the most frustrating thing in building a business is when you have marketing tactics that you are pouring energy into and not getting anything, well, energy or money into and not getting anything in return. So the moment my model changed, I got my energy back. In my case, it wasn't as much about money, it was about time and energy. And I think she'd have the exact same experience if there was someone to help her through her redesign, help her to redesign how she's getting clients. So the question for her isn't like, how do I push through the burnout? That should never be the question. Please don't ever ask yourself that question. The question is, what would my business look like if the growth model didn't require the thing that's draining me?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like, hmm, I'm feeling this burnout. How do I push through that? Because winners win, right? Like, well, yes, winners do win, but like not at the expense of, collapsing and having to be hauled away in an ambulance and, yeah, no.
Well, we're both sitting here sort of chuckling about it, and I think it's important to say that that's not because in any way, shape, or form we're laughing about the situation that this person is
Yeah.
facing. We're laughing because as two ADHD overachievers, we were 1000% the people who would just try to push through the burnout in all of our previous situations before we got to where we are now.
Yep, absolutely, man. And great save on that because yeah, definitely wasn't laughing at her. It was more like, oh, this sounds so familiar, doesn't it, Ryan? So anyway, man. So here's what we tell her. And again, this is something that you can use as well. It's the energy tracker. So again, 3 steps. And the goal here is anytime we're talking about anything, like we want to give you something super practical that you can use immediately right now. All right. So step one, she is going to need to list out the top 3 things that she doesn't like doing in her business. And she is going to need to get specific, like the cold calls, the editing, a certain type of client. And from that, she's going to need to go into step 2, which is rating each of those things 1 through 10. Like, how much energy would she get back if she never had to do that again? Eights, nines, and tens are a model design problem, and it's something that you definitely want to look into, which brings step 3 up: exploring other ways. Can you eliminate it with better positioning, filter out wrong clients, restructure the offer so it doesn't really exist in a way that just drains you? Just for me, immediately in her situation, she needs a video sales letter. She needs a paid advertising strategy because she already doesn't have time. And it doesn't need to be her spending $100 a day. There are ultra low cost paid ad strategies that, I've used time and time again that solve this problem in under $150 a month. And one thing to understand is that if she's calling leads multiple times a day, she's spending more in her own time, more than $150 a month. So it's like it automatically makes sense. Like she's probably burning through thousands of dollars of hours of her own hours, her own coaching hours, by having to be the person, calling these people. And what about getting people, having people see quality, like high quality ads that have them come to you and tell you when they're ready to do something with you, versus you having to call these people multiple times a day. It's 2026, not 1989. So um that brings up the 4 minute mile. And I think that a lot of people like her, they may see what's kind of possible in passing when they're on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. But it really comes back to that adage around the 4 minute mile. Like experts said that it was impossible, but Bannister broke it the limit was a belief and it wasn't really physical. Like if I could just like grab her by the shoulders and be like, you're a health coach. Why are we calling leads multiple times a day? Maybe it's because she's been burned by an agency in the past. Maybe it's because, like, they've tried other things. Maybe they went and bought this big funnel package and they didn't realize that traffic was their issue and it wasn't really about the funnel. There's so many different what ifs, but the reality of it is I'm going to assume that she's spending 2 to 3 hours a day on lead qualifying, where if she took those 2 to 3 hours a day, and let's just say that she's charging $250 an hour, her package comes out to like $250 an hour. So that's $750, $500 to $750 a day that's being left on the table. It's also those 2 to 3 hours are draining, probably 30 to 40% of her energy daily. And yeah, like it's wild. It is wild, wild stuff. So energy health overall is important. The next life area is community and belonging, and I think that this is grossly underrated. Most people think I just need to figure this out on my own, nobody understands, I'll prove them wrong. And they're typically talking about their friends and family. They're talking about maybe their spouse, maybe they're talking about their coworkers. And it's just the people that are currently in their life. I like to look at it like this. Like once I realized that I wasn't crazy, everything changed. And then I started to seek out the pockets and places and areas where the crazies hang out. And when I got into the arenas and the environments where there were other crazy people like me, I no longer felt crazy. Or if I was ever called crazy, I knew that being crazy was now not a bad thing. It wasn't anything to be ashamed of. You were just different in ways that the general world it didn't really appreciate. And I can even take that back to like school. Like I got kicked out of class a lot, and not because I was like I couldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like on average, I would have the entire semester of schoolwork done within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the semester because I was willing to stay after school and not go and do all of these crazy things. It's like I loved recess, but more than anything, I genuinely loved learning, right? So but what I realized is that I was getting kicked out of class because of like class clown stuff or people messing with me and me defending myself and blah, 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 blah. The point that I'm making is that when that thirst for knowledge was put in an arena, digital marketing, high ticket coaching, like all of this stuff, personal development, when that thirst for knowledge around personal development was put into an arena where it was appreciated, that's what created hockey stick level growth in my life personally. So here's what you need to know. You don't need to prove anyone wrong. You need people who can see what you can't see about yourself. The right community doesn't just support, it accelerates you. And I can remember back with Ryan where it was like, dude, like we both know that you're like not naturally adept to creating content, but we still need to do some elements of it. But we need to start focusing on what you are actually good at. And when I brought the adjacent audiences strategy to him, I could see the light bulb click. Now, he didn't just jump on it the next day, but I could definitely see the light bulb click overall. And um, had he not been in an environment where there were people like me in that environment to kind of help him see another way, then he probably I don't even want to know what he would have been doing outside of posting not not cringy content, but it was that was low level cringe that was acceptable, right? So for you, like what solving for the community and belonging aspect of things does for you, people who actually understand you, like you get around those types of people. You also get feedback from people who've been there, right? And your spouse also starts to see progress because you can finally articulate it. And when the better you get at articulating the progress that you're making, the closer you get to the money. And we were talking about it yesterday. It comes down to show me the money, baby. Show me the money. So um, you ultimately you get to the place where you have a peer environment that compounds growth instead of reinforcing doubt. So, Ryan, your entire 75K breakthrough came from one relationship, like one strategic partnership. Before that, you were posting into the void alone for the most part for 14 months. Like, what changed when you stopped trying to do it solo?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. For months, I was completely alone in what I was doing. My wife was supportive. I mean, she was incredibly supportive from the type of role that I went to with a steady paycheck to walking away from that and kind of walking into the unknown a little bit. But she couldn't give me real business feedback because she had never been an entrepreneur or done her own business either. Some of my corporate friends thought I was having some kind of crisis, and the online communities that I was a part of, they were full of people who were all just doing the same thing with mediocre results, kind of just telling each other, just keep posting, like just keep posting, and like that was the thing. It was like that was the most common feedback if it wasn't working. Oh, you just need to go do more, just do more, and it will work out. So the thing was like I didn't tell most of the people in my life what I was doing for that very reason because I knew that I would be faced with people that might tempt me to give up on what I was trying to accomplish, and I wasn't willing to let that happen. So when LD came into the picture as my coach, he identified you identified almost immediately that the whole model was misaligned, which I think deep down I knew, but I was too stubborn and too determined to allow myself to acknowledge that. The skills were there, the effort was definitely there. I was bending over backwards, killing myself to produce like 3 pieces of content a day, but the deployment was completely wrong. So I couldn't see that on my own because I was inside the jar trying to read the label. So, like you said, it was one person, it was one relationship with someone who could see what I couldn't see about myself. And within weeks, the entire trajectory of my business changed. And that wasn't because I learned something new, it was because somebody held up a mirror and showed me what was already there. And that was you.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely, man. And it's for me, it's always really, really exciting. And we're gonna jump into the Reddit story coming up, but it's always exciting when you can see like just levels of greatness in the hard work that someone has already put in previous of coming to you. And all you have to do is just kind of turn a couple of internal knobs with them and they end up unlocking and they shoot out like a rocket and their energy is through the roof, not because they just made money, because a lot of times the money hasn't even come yet. It's the fact that they can see themselves actually making this work now. And I think people grossly underestimate the importance of not just knowing that something can work, but actually seeing yourself like you can stop and kind of daydream and you can see how this can work for you. uh, I would say that that is more important than the first $1,000 that you make, because you can go and put a bunch of hot dogs together and go stand outside of a nightclub and make $1,000, but I'm pretty sure that that just wouldn't align with the life that you're trying to live. But yeah, so let's go ahead and hop into this Reddit story, because I feel like a lot of people are going to um they're going to feel this one for sure.
All right. So this Reddit story is titled Solo Entrepreneurs. It's hard to describe how isolating this is. So this person started her business solo about a year ago. No employees, no board, no mentors, no peers. Friends check in, but they can't relate. Her husband's enthusiasm has faded, and her most frequent business conversations happen with ChatGPT. An AI chatbot is her most trusted business advisor, not because she's antisocial, but because she literally has nobody else.
Got it. Okay. Well, first and foremost, um, we're gonna put the actual links to these Reddit stories in the description so that you can go check them out more in depth. Um, and yeah, this is wild. So, a few things to note: she's not failing. She did actually build something. Her skills are real. Um, but she has no one who can say to her like you're on the right track or you got a blind spot there. AI is great, get it. You know, I wouldn't use ChatGPT, but we're Claude gang over here, Claude and Perplexity, um, but it can't sit across from you and say, "I've been exactly where you are, and here's what I wish someone told me." Right? That requires a human, luckily, who's lived it. Right? So, um, in her scenario, I would want to know what type. First, I'd want to know her personality type, right? So, and for all the people out there, I am an ENTP, and on the DISC assessment, I am an ID. So, if you see me acting crazy or having a good time, just know that's why. And I am unapologetic about that. So, I'd want to know her personality type because that would help me to help her find a premium community that would align, because I think that because she has things off the ground, she doesn't need to be in a beginner level or entry level community. And I'd also want to know what her risk tolerance is when it comes to investing in herself, because that is also going to dictate the level of community that she makes the decision to invest in. I would say just on her, just in this situation, she'd be, a really good candidate for a liftoff lab or any community related to her getting around people who already have their deal off of the ground to some extent. At least it may not be just fully off the ground, but it's kind of puttering along. So she has quarters where things are off of the ground and maybe they regress a little bit every other quarter. So that would be that. But Ryan, when it comes to this story overall, does it hit close to home? Because before we connected, like, were you who were you talking to about all of this stuff, man?
Yeah, first of all, it hits very close to home because before you, I was talking to people in communities that I had paid to be in, but honestly, those were largely people in the same stuck position that I was in, reinforcing the same broken strategies. And like I mentioned before, my wife was supportive, but it wasn't the same as having someone who'd actually been there and done what I was trying to do and was where I was trying to go. And the ChatGPT thing, I don't laugh at that at all because I was using AI as a sounding board as well. And it's great for brainstorming, but it can't look you in the eye and say, I've been exactly where you are. And here's the thing that you can't see about yourself. That requires a human who's actually lived it. So the day that I got connected to LD, someone who had actually built what I was trying to build multiple times, not just once, that was the day that everything started to change for me. Not because he gave me a tactic, but because he could see my blind spots. And no amount of AI or online courses can do that for you.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely, man. So there are three levels. There are people behind you, there are people on your same level, and then there are people who are ahead of you. And even if they're 1 to 2 chapters ahead of you, that's still better than kind of talking with AI or talking with someone who's on your same level. And I think that, and this is why I wanted to know about her risk tolerance and her personality type, because there are paid communities out there where the level of access that you get to the mentor is minimal, and you find yourself just basically engaging with other people that are on your same level. The other side of that, and let's just say that there are people who maybe joined a year before you, they went and made progress and now they're ahead of you, but they don't actively engage in the community anymore because they came, they saw, they conquered, and they're gone. So it's important that a premium community, whatever community you choose, has an element or a mechanism that ensures that as people progress and they move beyond whatever level you're at, you still have some level of access to them in a quality way. So again, it's a real community where these people want to pay it forward. They want to come and give back versus just, coming for what they wanted and then going riding off into the sunset or moving to a higher level community or whatever the case may be, right? So here's a quick action plan when it comes to that. We call it the peer audit. 3 steps. Step one, write down the 5 people you talk to the most about your business. Step two, for each ahead of you, beside you, or behind you. Um, when you talk to them, does it leave you with more clarity or more doubt? Because a lot of times when you're talking to people who are at your same level, you guys are not talking about how to get to the next level. You're typically talking about the experience that you're having in the community. And that's not moving the needle forward. That's you guys evaluating whether this is worth it or not, just from different lenses. All right. And step three, if you realize that the 5 people that you talk to the most about your business, if none of them are ahead of you, you now know that that's your biggest gap. So you don't need more tactics. You don't need more, like it's not about the tactics, it's not about the strategy, and it's not about the money being made or not made. It's about that gap. And that is how you know for sure that you need to explore which premium level communities are going to make the most sense for you. And just because we have Liftoff Lab, we're not saying Liftoff Lab is the answer for everyone. Like, absolutely not. That is not it at all. And we also believe in being a part of multiple premium communities. And I think that is something that you won't hear from most people with communities because they naturally would want you to just be in theirs and just live in their world. Well, you're going to see through these live streams, through the content, through everything that we put out, from this point and beyond, that our goal is for you to not need us, to get to the point where you don't need us, but for us to serve you so well and just do things in a way where you make the conscious decision that you want to be around us long term and grow with us overall. All right. So a couple of things. One of them is a quick analogy, the gem spotter. So nobody maxes out alone. A spotter doesn't lift for you, they let you go further. And I would say for sure that when it comes to going further, that's all I ever did with Ryan. Was I was just the spotter and the periodic personal trainer, where it's like, hey, tuck your elbow in this way. But more than anything, it's like, hey, we need to go do this, I'm here if you need it. Jim Rohn also said that, you're the average of 5 people. If none are ahead, then your average holds you in place. And this is another one of those smiling laughing moments because we both have been there in varying seasons of life. Another one is remembering what life looked like in corporate. At your job, you had a team, whether you wanted them or not, whether you liked them or not, you did have a team. But now you're alone, and you're actually like wondering why it's harder. It's like, duh, because even in a bad team, you still have much less, like, your capacity goes further because you have a team versus it just being you alone. So the next life area is all about strategy and skills. And this is going to be a big one. All right. So most people look at this as like, hey, I just need to master the right tactical skills, copywriting, sales, content, funnels, because without skills, nothing works. And for people who think like that, it's like you're learning new skills to avoid deploying the ones that you already have, whether you know it or not, whether you realize it or not. It's not always deliberate. It could be you're like, hey, I need to get these things squared away in order for me to do this. So just understand that you having 10, 15, 20 years of real expertise and you're in a 997 course learning reels. So every new skill is another way to feel busy without testing whether what you already know is enough. And I'm here to tell you right now, it is. If I can take a guy who had no real skills from his corporate gig that he leveraged, but he did have a skill when it came to inviting people to church. Oddly enough, like he was really good at creating an environment where if he invited someone to church, over half of those people actually showed up, and half of that half actually became members of the church. And we basically put a plan together to help him to be able to monetize um helping other churches basically level up the skill set of the members in their congregation who were adamant about, helping the church grow and everything. And that's super random. This guy was a private equity guy, by the way. So he's a private equity guy. But when we made the decision to, really dial in him creating an offer around helping churches grow, not only did the light bulb go off, but his face lit up. And he told me that he couldn't sleep that night because he could do what? He could see how that could work for him. Because it's not even about charging churches, it's about or like charging them this premium amount and like price gouging churches. It wasn't about that. He would do it for free, but he could see that most churches, especially ones who had adequate funding, they would have they could see the value in that investment, right? So it's a really, really beautiful thing. All right. So um how you need to see this is that you don't have a skills gap, you have a deployment gap. The best copy can't sell a misaligned offer, and the worst pitch can still close when it solves a real problem. I learned this in my direct sales days. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. There will be people, no matter what it is you do, they will never buy from you until you become Oprah level famous. And then at that point, you don't really need or even want them. You don't care whether they buy from you or not. So it's that. Um, what I How you should look at this as we move on is, stop buying courses about skills that you already have. Start charging based on the decade of expertise that you've been sitting on. Because again, for Ryan, like 20 years of product management, operations, strategy, all this stuff. And he's selling a $500 master resale rights course about digital marketing. No, no, we're not doing that. That's what we're not going to do. Now, if you were working at Walmart for 2 years pushing carts, maybe that makes sense. But dude, we got 20 years of experience, right? So, Ryan, I wanted to ask you, um, I want you to walk people through the full story. All right. You had 20 years at Verizon, digital product strategy for Apple, Amazon, Samsung, as those strategic partnerships and stuff. You left. And then what happened? Like, take us from the moment you decided to build your own thing all the way to the $75,000 strategic partnership.
Yeah, so 20 years of Verizon, it is 2024. And like you pointed out, I'm leading digital product strategy, working with some of our most critical partners, Apple, Amazon, Samsung, Google, like some of the biggest brands in the world on top of that. So on paper, it was an amazing career. But being fully honest, I had been burnout already for years, and I just kept jumping from job to job to job, from one area of the business to the other, thinking that it would solve that problem, that it was just the department I worked in or the job that I was doing, or it was my manager at the time, or it was the stakeholders that I was working with. But when the opportunity came to take a voluntary separation package, I took it. And it's the best decision that I ever made. But then I had to figure out what came next. And, before leaving was even on my radar, I had already been trying everything else on the side. Multi-level marketing sales. I got my real estate license. I tried affiliate marketing. To your point, I tried selling master resale rights courses. I was chasing vehicles. Whatever the next person online said that caught my attention, if they said it was going to work, then I tried it. Every few months, it was a new thing. And none of them stuck because none of them were built around or had anything to do with who I actually was. So eventually, I landed on content creation as the strategy, and I went all in on that. Over the entire course of employing that strategy, it was over 500 pieces of content in 14 months. Reels, TikToks, Facebook posts, you name it, and I created it. And at the end of all that, it was one client that came strictly from content with nothing else involved. One. And here's the thing, it wasn't that I was bad at content per se, even though, as LD pointed out, a lot of my content, especially earlier on, was cringe. Some of those posts, believe it or not, got millions of views on TikTok. I have a post on TikTok with over 3.2 million views. The problem was that I was deploying 20 years of corporate experience through a model that was never designed for somebody like me. I didn't have a skills problem. I had a deployment problem. And I couldn't see it because I was too deep and I was too far down that rabbit hole. So when I connected with LD through a coaching program, within weeks, he said something on one of the group calls that changed everything for me. He said, "You're playing the wrong game. You don't need to build an audience from scratch. You need to go where your ideal clients already are and just be the most helpful person in the room." He called it the adjacent audience strategy. And although it didn't immediately click, within months, it was my full fledged strategy, because I was being helpful in rooms full of people already. And that's already who I was. And so I didn't have to become somebody new. That was the most difficult part for me about creating content, is that I wasn't creating content and just being me. I was creating content and I was trying to be like these other people, who I was obviously nothing like. So instead of posting 500 more pieces of content into the void, I showed up in one strategic community that I had already been a part of since I started my entrepreneurial journey. I wasn't pitching to anybody. I wasn't trying to sell anybody. I was just genuinely trying to help people, answering their questions, adding value where I thought I could add value to the conversation. And like I said, being the person that I naturally am. And eventually, from that one room, over the course of 10 days, that's where the 15 clients and over $75,000 came from. So it was, I was the same person. It was my same skill set. It was my same expertise that I was sitting on the entire time. The only thing that changed was how I deployed what I already had. So it's not about skills. It was a deployment gap for me. And I think most people watching this right now could potentially be sitting on the same kind of untapped advantage and just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's like you you don't know what you don't know. And if you are relying solely on what you know or what you're able to discover, and the majority of the market is all about sending you down their specific lane that works for them, it's going to be a long day. And here's what I mean. Like, I've created high ticket coaching offers. I've been behind the scenes of 6, 7, and 8 figure entrepreneurs who have high ticket coaching offers. When they create an offer, they're creating it to be sellable first and helpful second. And that's just the nature of business, right? So if it's sellable, that means that they want it to have a wide range of scope of people that it can be sold to, not a wide range of scope that of people that it can help. They need, they're realistically, they're looking for 20%. They're looking for the 20% of people that will be able to follow what they're talking about in the way that they're talking about it, and go have success, and hopefully that produces enough testimonials to boost our marketing in a way to get more people to believe that this is something that they can actually do, right? And where we're coming at this from the alignment first approach, and how, we did that with Ryan, was when he started telling me about his background. That was the click for me, when I knew that, oh no, we are gonna definitely need to do something different for sure. So That's awesome stuff, man. And I would say that, overall, whether it was a Reddit story or not, Ryan's story isn't unique. It's the same pattern: real skills, wrong deployment, and it's playing out everywhere. So, Brian, go ahead and jump into the next Reddit story, man.
Yeah, so this next Reddit story is titled "How to Monetize My 20 Plus Years in Marketing Experience." So this person has over 20 years in marketing with Microsoft, Fortune 100 companies. They went independent. They built a website, created productized services. They have over 500 plus supportive LinkedIn connections and exactly zero paying clients. So 20 years of expertise, 20 years of enterprise marketing experience, and they cannot market themselves.
Yeah. So, one of the first things I would do with this person, just looking at their story, it's way too close to your story for us to not just jump on a one-on-one call or a a, a, a group call, right? Because we need him to tell his story so that we be able to identify the gaps. And I'm almost positive I know exactly where they are. Just because you were in marketing and stuff in a billion gazillion dollar corporation, that does not translate to the real world in most cases. So it's like he's trying to go about marketing things from a business to business perspective. And that's not entirely wrong, but there's something to be said about humans buy from humans, even in corporates just have more of a process and stakeholders and blah 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 blah. But when you're going out independent, you have to understand that relationships are going to be the key more than you just being good at what you do. So um yeah, like, again, when Ryan told me about like his expertise and the skill sets that he had built around that expertise, like I knew out of the gate that the adjacent audiences strategy was going to be the most ideal. And for this person, I'd want to also know who they actually want to serve at a high level, because that is going to dictate the adjacent audiences that we would be pointing that person into. So, Brian, does that kind of sound familiar, at least a little bit?
Yeah, that's just my story in a different font. 20 years of world-class experience. They went out on their own. They built all the things that you're supposed to build, the website, the pages, the LinkedIn presence, and zero clients because nobody told them that the skills and the deployment are two completely different things. And the LinkedIn part really jumped out at me because 500 supportive connections and none of them are clients. I had the same thing. I have over 800 connections on LinkedIn, people cheering me on, people texting me like, I see your content, it's amazing. You're doing you're doing the right things, and none of them were buying anything from me. So encouragement is not revenue. And the shift for me, and I think that the exact same thing for this person, uh, it was for me realizing that I didn't need to market myself. I needed to deploy myself in a room where my expertise actually solved a real problem for real people. And that's a completely different motion than building a website and hoping somebody finds it.
Yep, yep, absolutely. My copywriting agency started from people struggling during a $100 paid challenge. They were struggling to write hooks for their sales page, hooks for their emails. And I was like, I'll write them. I'll write 10 hooks for $5. And they were like, okay. And I gave them 50. And they were like, oh, you're actually pretty good at this. And it was like, I just studied maybe it was probably 3 days of just watching YouTube videos about copywriting. And I was like, I'm willing to help for basically nothing, right? And within 18 months, that turned into like $40,000 a month in a copyright agency. So when it comes to the action plan, what you're going to want to do is the skill deployment audit. And again, 3 steps. Step one, write down 3 things you're really good at. Don't limit to your job. Do not do that. I just told you about this random guy who's in private equity like his thing that he's excited about is helping churches grow, right? So don't limit it to your job. Think about every area of life, the things that come so naturally you never thought of them as skills. Step two, has anyone ever benefited in a measurable way? If yes, that's not a hobby. That's an undeployed skill with proof attached. So I want you to look at that list and ask yourself that question. Step three, it's going to be take the top one, and I want you to go ask AI right now, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini Pro, if you have it. Give me 5 to 10 variations of how I could monetize this on a part-time basis. The goal here is to not figure it out yourself. Like, let AI show you what's possible overall. And again, this is just something to get you out of the gates, get the gears turning in that direction. In Liftoff Lab, we go, much more in depth in helping you to figure out exactly what that is. And we actually recently opened our wait list for Liftoff Lab. We're going to be opening enrollment, but right now, if you want to be able to get more information about it when that time comes, then you're going to want to click the link in the description to be able to get on the wait list. There should also be a link in the description related to a quiz that will also help with this type of stuff. It's, again, a 2 to 3 minute quiz. Either one of those links you click, it's going to automatically get you onto the wait list, because we already anticipate that when we open enrollment, people who are on the wait list, they're going to end up taking the available slots. And I don't think that we're going to even have to put it out to like the world, so to speak. So again, just a shameless plug. There's a wait list. It takes 2 minutes. Go knock that out. So, Mr. Drucker said that the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. So your most valuable skill might be the one you never thought to charge for. All right. And I think that rings true for me because in school, I told you I used to get kicked out of class a lot because I was talkative and blah, 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 blah. But for the last 10 years, I've literally gotten paid to just run my mouth, which is so awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really fun. So, I would also say this, uh, when it comes to cooking, like, I love things that you guys already know. So imagine having 20 years of cooking. Everyone loves it, but you're like, maybe I need a culinary degree to open a food truck. Like, no, like, you need a model. You need to say, do I want a ghost kitchen? Do I want a food truck? Do I want to go the restaurant route? It's like, why 20 years of cooking, but I need to go get a culinary degree. Now, if you want to specialize, that's different, right? But anyway, I digress. So the last life area that we're going to talk about today is purpose and legacy. And I think that this is one of the most important ones, because, when the how is big enough, or when the why is big enough, the how usually figures itself out. So how most people think about this is, I'll figure out my why later. Right now, I just need to make money. And man, have I been there like that. Anyway, so what that usually costs is, without a North Star, every setback is a dead end. Money motivation runs out the first time things get hard. You didn't leave corporate to build a knockoff of someone else's business. That's not legacy. That's a different kind of job. And I'm not knocking master resale rights type of businesses, but that's what comes to mind when I hear you didn't leave corporate to build a knockoff of someone else's business, right? So how you should, I'm going to put it out there for you to kind of think about this, is purpose isn't a luxury for later. It's the engine that sustains you when tactics fail. Building towards something you care about, the work feels like building, not grinding. Like this right here, this is fun. When this live stream is over, like, I'm probably gonna go run a couple miles, because I feel energized by knowing that we're bringing something to whoever is able to see this. We're bringing them something that will be a breakthrough for them, because, and long story long, we're showing people that you can get a lot further by being who you are, versus trying to go and sign up and be a version of someone else, right? So what you get by looking at things from that angle is, you can articulate exactly why you're doing this beyond money, right? Your family sees how fired up you are, not about the amount of money that you made, but the fact that you're building something that you obviously want to. And every decision filters through a clear North Star. It's not about, is this going to make me money? Yes or no. It's like, what is the North Star and does it align? So the overall desired outcome is for you to have a business that's an expression of who you are, and fulfillment alongside profit. And I think that, you know, there are plenty of things that someone could say about our inaugural live, but one thing is for certain is that we both are really, really excited about um, what we have to offer to the people that will align not just with this message, but they'll be able to see a vision for themselves overall. So Ryan, most people say they want financial freedom, man. You had a good salary at Verizon, bonuses, all the good stuff. So it wasn't really about money. Like, what was it actually about, and how long did it take you to get honest with yourself about that?
It took me a long, long time to get honest about this. And for a while, I told myself that it was about financial freedom, about building wealth, about creating options. But in reality, the truth is that you're right, I was making good money at Verizon. I wasn't struggling financially. So if it wasn't about money, then what was it actually about? Both my dad and my grandfather were entrepreneurs, and they're both gone now. My dad passed away in 2012, and my grandfather passed away just 3 days after my last day at Verizon. And
Wow.
I think at some level, what I'm building is connected to them. It's about proving that the entrepreneurial instinct that they had, that it lives on. That I can take what they started and that I can build something that my own kids can look at someday and say, that dad built that. But I think it's also about being present. I don't wanna be the dad who's physically in the house, but mentally gone. That's 1000% who I was at the end of my corporate career, and that's why I knew I had to get out. I don't wanna be the dad checking email at dinner, stressed about working on the weekends. I did that for 20 years in a corporate job. The whole point of building this way, part-time hours with an aligned model, is that so I can actually be here for the life I'm building the business to support. So it was never about money, even though I initially thought it was. It was about legacy and presence. And honestly, I don't think that I could have lasted through these the hard months, through the 500 posts and the one client and all the doubt if I didn't have that purpose underneath everything else to hold me up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's what it really, really comes down to. So let's look at someone dealing with this right now and see how we can help them, man.
All right, so this Reddit story is titled "Has anybody or has anyone that's super ambitious lost that ambition in their late 30s?" So this person is 39 years old, a consultant in Ontario making 190K a year with a wife, 2 kids, a house, a career. He's checked every box that society says matters, and he's posted on Reddit saying that he feels like he's lost his sense of purpose. The drive that defined his 20s and his early 30s just evaporated. He wants to earn more money for his family, but he can't even identify what to pursue. He has everything and it still feels empty.
Yeah. So this is what I want everyone watching to really, really hear about this. This man has everything most of you are working towards right now: the income, the family, the stability. And he's on Reddit telling strangers he feels empty. That's not a money problem. That's what happens when you build towards check boxes instead of purpose. He hits every target and they he hit every target and they didn't mean anything because they were never his targets. They were society's targets. And if you're building right now without a North Star, without a clear answer to why am I doing this beyond money, this is where the road leads. Not to failure, to success that feels hollow. So, Brian, where, like, how does that land for you overall? Because you were at Verizon checking boxes for 20 years, and I know that you kind of touched on it um, just now, which was awesome, man. But like when you see stories like this on Reddit of all places, like how does that land for you?
It absolutely lands for me because I was that guy. I mean, I wasn't quite at 190K, but I was the guy who checked every corporate box, the promotions, the projects, the recognition from leadership. I mean, I won an award that was hand delivered by the CEO of Verizon, and I still felt like something was missing. So you can be successful by every external measure and still feel like you're just going through the motions. And what I hear in this guy's story is that all of his goals were external. They were society's milestones. The house, the income, the career. He hit every single one. And then there's nothing on the other side because nobody ever helped him define what his actual real targets were, as opposed to the targets that everybody else told him to aim for. And I think that's the real risk for anyone that's watching this right now. It's not that you'll fail, it's that you'll succeed at the wrong thing. And that's actually worse because at least when you fail, you know to try something different. But when you succeed at the wrong thing, you just feel stuck and you feel like you have no permission to even complain because everyone's telling you that you should be grateful, that you're doing an amazing job, that you're this superhero. So build towards your North Star, not someone else's boxes that they've set out for you to check.
Yep. And adding to that, the community piece. So when you go check all those boxes, um, the people around you, they get a status upgrade by being your friend, by being around you. So they are incentivized to not ever really tell you, hey, you should go chase your dreams. They want you to stay the same because it makes them look good. Like during my time in the military, while I was in the military, dude, I was the golden boy. Right? I come home on leave. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's back! Let's barbecue. Let's do all these things. Let's do all this stuff." And this is no knock on my family or friends or anything. It's just the reality. When I got out and I was no longer like this, hot shot Air Force guy anymore, and I was just a regular entrepreneur figuring it out, even though I had replaced my military income, I did it in a way that wasn't raising the status of other people around me. Right. Me traveling the world and doing all of these things, it's like it's great, but the way I went about it legal, but it just wasn't it didn't hit the same overall. All right. So with you, here's 3 steps that you can take. It's the purpose alignment check. Step one is one sentence. What do you want your life to look like in 5 years that has nothing to do with revenue, profit, money? Step two, does your current business model move you toward that or away from that? Step three, take that sentence, ask AI, based on this vision, what business model would support it on 15 to 20 hours a week? And again, this is going to get you pointed in the right direction, or at least it gives you something to chew on to start moving in the right direction overall. But we have, in the first week of being in Liftoff Lab, we tear all of this down because we need to help you. Like, we're going to help you find like what's aligned. You can't do an alignment first approach without tearing everything down and figuring out what aligns best. And I have a quick analogy for you related to this. Like, and not you, Ryan, but just anyone who's married or in a serious relationship. You didn't pick your spouse based on a resume. You picked alignment. So why would you build a business differently? All right. You didn't pick your spouse based on a resume. At least I hope not. You picked based on alignment. So why would you build a business differently if you had the choice? Right. So let's bring it all together. We just talked through the 5 areas most people completely ignore: decision making, energy, community, and skill deployment and purpose. The reason we went deep on these 5 is because these feed everything else. They feed your identity, your income, your time, your career, and your overall family dynamic. You don't fix the top 5 by staring at the top 5. You fix them by dialing in what's underneath. And if you only do 4 things after watching this, do these 4 things. One is the self alignment audit. where you're going to be rating yourself one through 10 in each of those 10 areas. Where are you actually weakest? Figure that out. Number two is picking one area from 6 through 10 that's dragging everything down the most. Number three is going to be using the exercises that we gave you for that area this week. And number four is going to be taking the quiz, because again, it's 2 to 3 minutes long. The link is in the description, but our goal in anything that we do is just getting the gears turning and getting you pointed in the right direction. All right. So um Ryan, I'll hand it over to you, man, and we will be good to go.
So these are the 10 areas that determine whether your business works for your life. Most people are grinding on the first five: identity, income, time, career, and family. And like we said at the beginning, those are lagging results. The real leverage is in areas 6 through 10. These are the leading inputs. Decision making, that's 47 saved resources and zero revenue, and is a decision problem, not an information problem. Energy, you're not burnout from working hard, you're burnout from working on the wrong things. Community, building in isolation builds blind spots. One right relationship changed everything for us. Skills, you don't have a skills gap, you have a deployment gap. Deploy what you already have. Purpose, without a North Star, every setback is a dead end. Purpose is the engine. And it can all be summed up with one sentence: 500 posts in 14 months, one client, then one shift, 75,000 in 10 days. The skills didn't change, the deployment did. If any of this hit home for you today, then the single best thing you can do, like LD said right now, is take the quiz. It is in the description below. It'll take you 2 minutes. It'll show you exactly where to focus, and hit subscribe, because this is just the overview. We're going to break down each of these 10 areas one by one in the upcoming episodes. And this is going to be a series that you don't want to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're someone who's been on this journey for a while and you're tired of the trial and error, I promise you, we get it, because both of us lived it, as we just kind of walked through it a little bit today. So this series is going to be different from anything else you've seen, because we're not teaching theory. We're showing you what alignment first actually looks like through our story, through real people's stories, and through frameworks you can actually use right here and right now. So see you in the next episode.
And speaking of the next episode, we're diving deep into life area number one: identity and self concept. This is the battlefield where most aspiring entrepreneurs are losing the war without even knowing it. That's the one that's going to hit different.
Love it. Let's go, man.